will say this, to start off positive, I think the first episode succeeds in introducing us to new characters, new fun characters, chap. And one of the first characters, actually, it's what the episode's named after, which is Ouroboros, OB, who is played by Ki Hu Kwan, who's coming off hot from Everything Everywhere All at Once, which also deals with multiverse, funny enough. He's kind of been typecast into these multiverse roles.
Hello, and thank you for checking out the video. I just want to let you know that I not only create content on my YouTube channel, Class in the Glass, but I'm also on Twitch, where I review movies, cartoons, and TV shows live, while also playing single-player games and multiplayer games. I also have a Patreon, where subscribers have access to hundreds of video and audio commentaries for films and cartoons, as well as podcasts and videocasts. In the meantime, thank you again for watching. Enjoy the video.
We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the first big part of my show today, and that is my review for Loki Season 2, at least my general thoughts, my general impressions on the first couple of episodes that have already aired right now. I want to do a more comprehensive review once the entire season is out there, is all wrapped up, chat, because in these last, these first two episodes, there's not like a lot of meat here. I feel like the first episode, we'll get to it. There's not a lot of meat in the bone, a lot more on 2, but to have a better understanding of what's going on in this show, I want to wait until the entire thing is out there, chat. So we'll definitely return to Loki in a few weeks from now. But for those of you that need a bit of a synopsis, a bit of history, a bit of background about what Loki and the TVA have been up to, chat, this season, it takes place immediately after the events of the first season, like moments after, minutes if not seconds after the previous season. And Loki is working with Mobius, Hunter B-15, and numerous other members of the Time Variance Authority, the TVA, to navigate the multiverse in order to find Sylvie, Ravonna Renslayer, and Miss Minutes, and whoever else is out there has been messing with the timelines, chap. And, of course, they have catapulted the multiverse into complete chaos. And also, chat, discover the He Who Remains, who will then eventually become the Conqueror known as Kane the Conqueror. And, before obviously jumping into the my review for these first 2 episodes, I briefly want to talk about just Tom Hiddleston as Loki and also the first season of Loki. It's so funny, chat. I guess at this point, like a little over 10 years ago, I think for a lot of us, certainly I can speak for myself, we were first introduced to the actor Tom Hiddleston via Loki in Thor. And wow, what a perfect choice to play this iconic character. Of course, I'm a Loki fan from the comics. Shit, I've always loved the villain, anti-hero, right, from Marvel Comics. And the way Tom Hiddleston just has played him throughout the MCU, I think has been just absolutely fantastic. I was not the biggest fan of the first 2 Thor movies, but thankfully, Tom Hiddleston, to me, was like the absolute best thing about those movies. And, of course, he's consistently great in all the other Marvel properties that he's appeared in. I think for a long time, he was like everyone's favorite Marvel villain until, we started getting like, Killmonger or Vulture or, Thanos, obviously. But for a while, Tom Hiddleston's Loki, I think, was the absolute best. I mean, yes, he's perfect when it comes to, the evil maniacal villain shtick, monologue and all that. I mean, they even kind of make fun of him for that. And it's part of his, like, his abilities in order to manipulate people. But, we've seen, different sides of the character. They've expanded on his background in these movies, and they've really dived into, like, his complicated relationship with his adopted family. Everyone from Odin to, obviously, Thor, and I think he's had a great chemistry across the board with all the other Marvel characters that he's either partnered with or come up against. And so, when it was announced that he was going to get his own show, or at least a variant of that Loki was going to get his own show, I was really excited about it. It was like, oh, perfect. They could, if they wanted to, like years ago, they could have announced, like, hey, we're going to do a Loki movie. And I feel like a lot of people would have been pretty excited. I certainly would have been excited, since I think he's, one of the best things about the Thor movies. And he often is one of the best things about the Marvel movies in which he appears in. But, they decided to go ahead and do this TV series. And, to this day, I think Loki season 1 is still by far the best of the Marvel shows on Disney Plus. It's the best of the MCU shows. And the way in which, we're introduced to the TVA and explain multiverse. I feel like out of like all this stuff, maybe with the exception of like Spider-Man, No Way Home, and maybe a couple other things, I think like Loki has handled the multiverse aspects in these more recent phases, I think, better than any of the Marvel movies. All right. It didn't get too complicated. I like that they kind of set up where it's this bureaucracy. It's literally like, what if we made a superhero show, but the setting is kind of like a 60s Office Space? And it was like, that's weird, but and then the main character's Loki, and he's gonna be a good guy. Now it's like, what? That shouldn't work, but it did. It did. And I thought it worked quite well, and I thought it was a really fun show. And then, of course, you bring in, someone like Owen Wilson as the character of Mobius, and him having just excellent chemistry with Tom Hiddleston. I mean, they rapport, their friendship throughout that first season, I thought was, absolutely fantastic. And then introducing us to other characters like Sophia DiMartino, who plays, the female version of Loki, a female variant of Loki, who takes on the name of Sylvie. Thought she was great, and that was our initial introduction to Jonathan Majors as Kane, a Kane variant, He Who Remains, who I thought was like that was really good. And there's just some other guest stars and really fun episodes, and they were having a lot of fun. I think they were doing a lot of things right with the multiverse stuff, and I certainly had a blast with it. So I think that has been one of the absolute best either movies or shows within Phase 4 or Phase 5, which we're in, right now. I think they've done a pretty good job. And so obviously, going into season 2, of course, I was very excited, especially how that, series wraps up, and we're about to, it's been, the TVA's been exposed to what, their origins are, how they're all tied to Kane or He Who Remains and things. And, it's in a state of chaos and anarchy. I thought like, okay, here we go. Like, this is going to be really fun. And I will say this, to start off positive, I think the first episode succeeds in introducing us to new characters, new fun characters, chap. And one of the first characters, actually, it's what the episode's named after, which is Ouroboros, OB, who is played by Ki-Hu Kwan, who's coming off hot from Everything Everywhere All at Once, which also deals with multiverse. Funny enough, he's kind of been typecast into these multiverse roles. But his role, he's pretty much like the head TVA technician. It's like, hey, if there's something going wrong, if something bad, if one of the, gizmos or doodads or piece of technology they're using is, on the fritz, you go and see him in the basement. Well, he'll be able to fix it. And again, Ki-Hu Kwan is absolutely charming in this role. As soon as he pops up, he just has like so much energy. It's almost like he's about to explode. And his interactions with anyone from Owen Wilson or Tom Hiddleston is just so much. It's so much fun. I really like his character a lot. I think he's the strongest part of the first episode. And as we follow him, we continue to see that in episode 2, and we see more of his rapport with everybody else. And, despite just this dangerous threat, which even he knows it's like a dangerous threat, he'll have like a moment of aloofness that I think is quite charming. And I really like his character quite a bit. Now, I will have to say, though, the first episode, it's definitely, I think, of the 2 episodes that I've seen, it's the weakest episode. Not because of Ki-Hu Kwan, who I think is absolutely fantastic. He's very good in this show so far. But I honestly felt confused watching it because they spend a lot of time, in my opinion, an unnecessary amount of time trying to explain multiversal travel and time travel in general and timelines and time waves. I'm just like, listen, when it comes to time travel, like you very quickly, if you try to over explain time travel in anything, then you're going to sound dumb. You're going to sound stupid, or you're just going to be confused. You're going to confuse the audience. There's a reason why, in Back to the Future, they just have like a made up thing like the flux capacitor. It's like, you need a flux capacitor. That's how you time travel. That's all you need. No ifs, ands, or buts. We're not going to overcomplicate it. He's got to go it needs to have this many gigawatts. You got to go 88 miles per hour, and you need a flux capacitor. That's it. You need 3 things. Here, they're introducing a lot at once, and I'm like, I don't know why you're doing that, because that wasn't like what they did in the first season at all. And so that was weird. It's like they have a conflict in this first episode where something bad's about to happen, right? Where it would destroy a lot of things. And you could explain all that very quickly in a couple of lines of dialogue. And I wasn't sure why they felt the need to over-explain so much, because I was kind of confused. I was like, wait, what's happening? Why is this person there? Why is we need to do all these things? Step A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. It's like, you don't need all those steps. It's like, just A, B, C. That's all you need to do. And that's fine. Let's stick with these charming characters and have them bounce off each other, because that's what's working about this episode, and what worked about the previous season. So I was a little taken aback at how they were just getting into the minutia of the trying to explain multiversal travels. Like, you don't need to do this, because it's all going to sound like mumbo jumbo, if you ask me at the very end of the day, chat. And I wonder if a lot of other people felt that way too. But thankfully, even after episode 1, I was like, okay, a very mixed impression. Very charmed by the characters, as always, consistently. Also, by the way, the aesthetic of the show, much like in the first season, I really, really love the look of this series. As I said before, it's like, what if we set a Marvel show in the world of Office Space, right, by Mike Judge, but it's a period piece too. It's like, we're gonna use this kind of like retro futuristic technology, but it all looks like stuff from the late 50s or into the 60s, right? Like, everything has like a yellow burnt orange look to it. And like all their all their keyboards, all their tech, like, has the, I love big dumb buttons, chat. Big dumb burnt orange buttons that they all have to press and things. There's just something about that aesthetic that I find really pleasing to the eye. Like, the production design, I think, is fantastic. The costumes are very good. The sets look great. Like, the TV, I appreciate that, because I think in a lot of like superhero properties, like, for example, initially in the DCEU, right? Like, everything in the Zack Snyder verse looked the same. Everything was like blue and gray. That was the color palette. Didn't matter if we were watching a Batman movie. Didn't matter if we were watching a Superman movie. It's like everything was blue and gray for some reason. I was like, why does it look this way? Like, these characters all these different worlds and places should have like a distinct look to each other. And then when all these heroes come together, it's like, oh shit, it's like clash of all these different tones and aesthetics, but it works, right? We can't have everything be the same, because at that point, then it becomes dull. And so I like for Loki that it kind of has this aesthetic. I think it's like really good. I like the lighting as well. So on a technical level, I mean, very, very impressive, very impressive. But as we get into episode 2, then I thought like, okay, then I thought like after kind of maybe like a wonky first episode 2, I feel like it was more confident self. That's when we kind of moved away from the trying to explain the multiverse stuff, because again, you're going to get lost in that. Please don't do that. But now it's like, hey, we got to find this guy, this agent. So after this big reveal, because everything's like pretty much revealed to the TVA, like what the TVA actually is, who remains, Kane, all that. Like, everyone knows that now. This one's like, oh shit. So now you're getting like a lot of people from the TVA that have become disaffected and say, well, screw this. I don't want to, I'm a variant. Like, this is my life. My life was stolen from me. Well, I'm going to go live my life somewhere else. And so we're starting to follow characters, ex-TVA agents, who are going to all these different timelines and living their best lives, basically. But, the way in which they did so was after they got in contact with, some of the characters that we're trying to find, or we're trying to, battle. Which is Sylvie and Miss Minutes, voiced by Tara Strong, and Ravonna Renslayer. And so one of their agents is this character, really, really, really interesting character, played by Rafael Casal, and he plays his TVA name is Hunter X5, but the name that he's chosen for himself is Brad Wolf. And he's gone to live in this timeline where it's like, it's the 19 teens, right? And like he's become like this like movie star in these silent films, and they have to like track him down. So it's kind of like almost like a secret agent vibe. I like the period piece. And most of the episode is pretty much them just interrogating this character, Loki, Mobius, B-15. And I really like that because this guy, even though he's the one that's captured, he's the one that's kind of interrogating everyone else and manipulating everyone else, like within the scene. What's really cool is like in this episode, they really confront Loki with his past and the choices that he made throughout his, life, or up until, because this is Avengers 1 Loki, like that Loki that was in Dark World and Ragnarok, like that's not that Loki that we're following. He's dead. And so we're seeing a different Loki here. And I really love the conversations between Wolf and Loki in this episode because Loki's like, listen, man, like trillions of lives are at stake. He's like, who are you to judge me on like what's at stake? It's like, you're a monster, you're a murderer. He's trying to get him to snap, throughout the entire episode. And doesn't funny enough. There's a character does snap, but it's not who you think it is, which I thought was pretty cool. But I love that, Loki's being confronted with his past, and they're not pushing to the side. They're not just pushing aside like, well, he's a good guy now, so, all is forgiven, right? It's like, well, you might have killed billions of people and slaughtered millions of younglings, Darth Vader, but you did one good deed, so you get to be a Force ghost. It's like, no, they're like, no, you did a lot of bad things, okay? And, one good thing or a couple good things or how many good deeds ain't going to wipe away the crime, ain't going to wipe away the stain. The stain's still going to be there. Maybe it's a little lessened, but it's still going to be there. But at the same time, like, we also see a little bit of the old Loki in episode 2 as well. And he does something that I thought was really creepy and intimidating and thrilling. And I think it's definitely at this point of the 2 episodes, it's kind of the high point for me for the character. It shows like, listen, I'm changing, but I can still easily slip into my bad ways and try to get what I want. I will hurt people, to protect myself and people that I've now started to care about. And so I like that they did that. Also, again, Hiddleston and Wilson are so good together. I absolutely adore their chemistry. There's a scene after, all I'll say is interrogation with the Brad Wolf character, where they're both eating like some pie. It looks like key lime pie, which I love key lime pie. But they're both eating some pie. And, basically Wolf really got to like Mobius. And, Mobius was kind of like, he was feeling down. And, Loki was trying to cheer him up, which I thought was really interesting. But, like Mobius is talking about like, the things that, Wolf did. But he knows that he wasn't always that way. And then like Loki makes this like really funny comparison. He's like, yeah, man, I get it. I understand. It's like, not too long ago, I fooled my brother and my whole family that I was dead. And, it was a little on me, I will say. And I met up this Thanos guy and gave him this army. And, I laid waste to New York City and the earth. And, I realized, like, maybe I shouldn't do that. And so, yeah, I'm learning. Like, he's, like, brushing it off, like, we make mistakes. So we grow as people. And Mobius is like, So I thought that was very, very funny. That Loki kind of had this moment of like, I'm being, I was like, yeah, we all make mistakes, that I almost just committed genocide on this planet and enslaved its people. It's like, what are you going to do? But I thought that was great. I thought that was a really good, again, it's the charm in those types of conversations. I want more of that. And they're doing that. They're doing that. And so maybe, let's go. Let's try to find all these villains. Let's try to, wrangle them up and find Kane. Like, clearly that's what they're obviously building towards with this show. Like, there's no question about that. But keep introducing these really charming characters. Keep having these wonderful conversations between, Kyu Kwan's Obi or Hiddleston's Loki or, Owen Wilson's Mobius, because that's the show's strength in my opinion. That's when it's working the best. And I hope they continue to do that in these next several episodes. I don't know how many episodes are this. Is it 6? Is it 8 episodes? I can never remember. They always seem to change, go back and forth, all these Marvel shows. But I thought episode 2 was a big improvement over episode 1. So I hope that, from now on, we have episode 2 quality, if not better quality, episodes moving forward. But so far, I'm enjoying the show. I hope they don't get lost in the multiversal mumbo jumbo, because that's always a risk. Give me more of that good character stuff. Give me more of those wonderful character interactions, and introduce me to and play around have fun with the aesthetics too, because I really love all the different aesthetics and the and how we go into like these period pieces. I think it's like whether we're in the 19 teens or later on in an episode where we're introduced to the character of Sylvie, like in a 1980s McDonald's. It's like let's do that. I think that's very fun. So far, positive first impressions. Hope they manage to keep it consistent. What about you guys out there? What do you guys think? Well, first of all, the Loki character, what do you think about their interpretation of Loki in the MCU over the last decade and a half almost now? And what are your general impressions currently on this season, these first 2 episodes. Let me know.
I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and I want to take the time to tell you about my Patreon, Class in the Glass, which offers hundreds of film commentaries and video reactions to numerous movies, TV shows, and cartoons. If you're a fan of shows like Batman the Animated Series and Avatar The Last Airbender, or films like Aliens and Raiders of the Lost Ark, my Patreon is the platform for you. Currently, I'm doing a subathon to reach 75 subs on the platform. If we hit 75 subs, we'll be able to start voting on the next edited YouTube reaction, which will include actual clips and scenes from the movies and shows I comment over. Choose from such films as Fire and Ice, Masters of the Universe, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, or Spawn. Subscribing at any tier level is appreciated, and feel free to give feedback at any time. Thank you again for watching the video, and see you next time.